of some things that we all didn't know about Governor Hogan, and we're going to talk about that a little later on. We're going to get onto that more in depth. But this morning, we have with us a lady who I respect highly, and many of us know her and respect her highly because of what she does. You know, it's been said that the worst thing that can happen to a parent is to lose a child, because the natural progression of things says that the parent goes first, and then the child is to bury their parent. But that has not been the case here in the city of Baltimore. And I would like to introduce you all to a lady that as I've said before, I really have high respect for, Miss Darlene Kane, president and founders of Mothers on the Move. Good morning, Miss Kane. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, you're welcome here, and I tell you every time I see you that you are welcome here, because I have no children, but everybody's children is my children's.
Thank you.
And I can only imagine what it must be like living with this idea. I didn't know this information. Your son his name was Dell.
Yes.
He was 29 years old, and he was a law student.
Correct.
And killed in October the 28th by a Baltimore City police officer. His life mattered, and she says, I came from skin and bones, and God gave me the strength to continue my journey to justice and continue his legacy. Education is the key. He left to his two loving daughters who are gifted and talented, and I will leave the legacy of service. I am an activist, advocate, and honorary speaker for those who fight for a legislation against police brutality and gun sense in America. Again, welcome to you. 2008. Has the sorrow lifted at all?
No, nothing has changed. The police are still killing people, our loved ones. But what I did is take my pain to turn it into passion. Mm-hmm. Because coming from skin and bones, I realized that only God can help me. Mm-hmm. And I felt the right thing to do was to find another way to make a purpose out of my pain.
Mm-hmm. You see, only God can help you. God is giving you the strength and the strength and the oxygen to do it.
Correct.
But them 2 feet down there, and them 2 hands, and
yes.
that one mouth, and them 2 ears is walking out on the faith that you believe in the strength that God is giving you. We're always saying what God's going to do. God is not magic. Faith without works is dead. And when I hear people say, well, I put it in the hands of the Lord, well, you just gave up. You know, because there are other people involved, and if God don't touch them and touch their hearts, he can touch them by your persistence and by your efforts for justice. Yes. But we must get out here and we must do the work. Tawanda, what's Tawanda's last name?
Tawanda Jones.
Yeah, Tawanda Jones.
Our warrior sister.
Yeah, she's been fighting for years for justice for her brother.
Every Wednesday, she's out there on the corner.
For how many years now? 2, 3 years now?
Should be her 3rd year.
Yeah, going.
God bless her.
We just had an incident that happened this weekend. Jay, can you bring us up to breast on what, Miss Kane, do you know much about that, about the police shooting the young man and what happened there? From what I'm hearing, they haven't named the police officer, and I don't believe have they named the victim?
No.
They haven't named him, and everybody's saying this Libor thing, this Policeman Bill of Rights, is in play while they're getting their story together, because they have 10 days to do that, the police do.
They do, and we fought for the 5 days, and what people don't know is that they can get an extension on that.
Really?
Yes, they can. They can get an extension on it, and if they have to, they can call out sick. See, people don't know, they can just keep getting it extended.
Mm-hmm. I see.
That's why we have to go to Annapolis.
Yes, we do. I'm going to bring in our other co-host who's about his life and about the life of the people and about the roots of scouting. Leo Burrows Jr., good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
I'm sorry.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition for justice, decency, and fair play.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, you've got the wrong person on there. Is Delegate Hayes is not with us, is he?
No, I know. I didn't. I'm not broadcasting that.
Okay, all
No,
right.
I'm trying to
great.
get Brother Leo's name up.
Oh, okay, all right. Then I just looked over and said, "Where is Delegate Hayes? I ain't seen him this morning." All right, Leo. All right, just to break up because Leo doesn't have a whole lot of time to be with us, Leo. But what are your thoughts about this policeman, this thing that happened last night, and its consistency with what goes on here in Baltimore? The guy had a camera. Why aren't those cameras put on CT, closed circuit TV, and everybody can see what's going down, especially when it comes to police involvement in malice, as it appears, or misunderstanding, we can call. I'm not going to indict anybody because we haven't heard the whole story, but we know the pattern. And
well, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, my concern is that the shooting took place Sunday evening, early in the evening, around 6:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the interview on television of acting police commissioner Gary Tuggle around 11:30 last night.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, Commissioner Gary Tuggle was saying there were a lot of rounds fired, a lot of shooting, and that the alleged suspect, the black male, was dead. The police officer was being treated at shock trauma and would recover from his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my concern was that at that point, there was no scenario shared with the public. In other words, give us a little bit of information. Was the police officer on foot?
Mm-hmm.
Did he get out of his patrol car? Was he chasing this person?
Mm-hmm.
And give us some sense of what occurred, as opposed to saying, I don't know. Well, now, today it is now 11:30, or it's almost noontime today, and we're still where we were yesterday, insofar as disclosure from the police department as to some of the circumstances. I don't pretend they'll know it all, but they should give us preliminarily. Was the officer wearing a camera? Did he get any footage? They say the officers were involved in crime suppression initiative, which this was a special group of officers, and they were apparently on patrol. But again, that's all we know. And I would think at this time, preliminarily, we ought to know the name of the victim. We ought to know the name of the officer. And, we should be given some kind of information other than we don't know. Well, it's time to know something, given the reality that the consent decree is in effect, supposedly.
Well,
and there should be greater clarity coming from the police. I hope and pray that they're not orchestrating a cover-up of any type and kind. That's what I hope.
We all hope that, and that has been the history. We hope. We've been disappointed so many times that, of course. Leo, I know you have to go. Darlene, would you like to add something to Ms. Kane?
Well, first of all, my condolences to the family, because I didn't find out the information till the next day. So
which is today.
It appears to me that, it's okay on their timeline when they can do things. But the family and the public do want to know, and it is an explanation. We want to know. And the cameras, to me, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, because you see what they do, but they still justify it.
And they get away with it.
Right,
yes.
The act is still justified.
Or they don't show what was on camera, as they did in the Freddie Gray.
I'm for sure they have enough time to critique it and fix it.
And cut it and edit it and to get rid of it, to delete it. Whereas in the Souter case.
Because it's in their hands. They have an advantage to do that. But if we was to be someone who commit a crime or murder someone, they want to know right then and there what happened.
They know.
You got to tell it all. They have an interrogation room. But for them, that doesn't happen.
Well, who polices the police? That is the question. Go ahead, Elliot.
The neighborhood is still on lockdown, the last I heard.
What?
In other words, this was in the area of Vine Street and Fremont Avenue. This occurred. And, of course, they went door to door. Police were going door to door last night asking questions or pursuing their investigation in that area. So remain vigilant. When will that lockdown cease? And are there other suspects? But as I know, we know that the last time something happened as a result of the death of Sean Suter, that particular neighborhood, which is in the same vicinity, was locked down for 5 days or more. And that unconstitutional violations of the rights of citizens occurred during that time. I hope there will be no repeat of that. And I'm not standing in the way of law enforcement. I'm only saying we need clarity. We need some statement that speaks to the need to be transparent and clear as to where things stand at this point, as opposed to obstructing the right of the public to know.
Yes, thank you, Leo, so
much.
much.
Have a great day.
Well, hold on. We want to talk about your event. Hurry up.
Okay. On November 2nd, the Roots of Scouting organization, of which I'm president and founder, is holding an annual crab feast and party at a fundraising event at the Forum Caterers at 4210 Primrose Avenue at 8 o'clock in the evening. This crab feast includes many different kinds of foods, and we ask the endorsement of the public. It is $65 per ticket. We, of course, have a program that focuses on meeting the needs of children, families, and community, and whether it be education or the rites of passage or Kwanzaa or all the other things we do, camping and emergency preparedness, first aid, and survival training, we do all these things. We provide all these things for our community. So we ask the endorsement and support of people, even those who may not actually attend, may want to contribute, and I will give you the phone numbers to call. If you wish to call the treasurer, Mr. Aziz, Kareem Aziz, it's 410-790-5875, 410-790-5875, Mr. Kareem Aziz, the chairman of the event, and I'm president. If you want to call me at 443-651-2578, 443-651-2578. All those who say they love us, this is a not-for-profit group, 501c3. We need you to be on the battlefield. We need your support to sustain our efforts on behalf of our children, families, and communities.
We thank you for all that you do, Leo, and I would like to throw another little blessing in that you guys, that the Roots of Scouting are giving to our children. They're putting a washer and a dryer in over at Liberty Elementary School because some of our children come to school in their pajamas because they don't have clean clothes to wear. And so,
I hope, Patrick, folks will come to our meeting on the 15th of this month, the 15th of October, that is, at 7 o'clock in the evening from 7 to 9 at 3301 Windsor Avenue at Hilton Street. We're meeting the church hall at St. Cecilia, Hilton Street in Windsor, Monday night, October the 15th. We want everybody on board to meet us in person and become a part of our efforts to save our community.
Thank you, Leo, for all that you do. God bless you and the Roots of Scouting. Really, and it's been years. This is nothing new. Leon has been a soldier with it for the war of justice and equality for our people. You know what I read, Leo, and I'm going to let you go. I read somewhere the other day where they said it's not even about justice and equality. It's about fairness.
Amen.
We never talk. Now, how often do you hear the word fairness brought up? It's just fair for everybody to have an opportunity in this country. So all this other, sure, we want equality and we want justice. We just want to be treated fairly. Yes. We're not asking nothing that nobody is not looking for in this country. Right. We just want to be treated fairly. Thank you, Leo. God bless again to you. Thank you.
Just to give you an update on the story. So this is from this morning's news. It says, Tuggle said the neighborhood will remain an active crime scene at least until morning, with police monitoring the people entering and exiting. The police department is commissioning a robocall to inform neighborhood residents, he said. We're going to do what's needed to get through this, Tuggle said. He did not say how long the police department would keep the neighborhood on lockdown.
Right.
So again,
here we go again.
we have a neighborhood on lockdown.
Unbelievable.
Right.
And who was this cop? Was he supposed to testify too, like
Right.
Souter?
Who is he?
Right.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Why
Or
won't they give his
again,
name so the people can start doing their due diligence on him?
We know that a lot of the task forces have been dissolved, and they've been going back to a task force type of strategy to try to address crime in some of these high crime neighborhoods.
But
what
yet they will
classify as high crime neighborhoods.
but yet they will not clear away these people that are congregating in the front of our businesses.
Well,
And-
again, we don't know. This may have been the possibility that they were engaging that neighborhood in a crime fighting strategy.
Okay.
But who knows, again, how aggressive they were, what the circumstances were.
Right.
And in some cases, again, if they were back to a task force, they may come back and tell us there is no body camera. Because a lot of times when you're undercover or you're working in that capacity, you don't have that type of gear
Why?
on.
I wonder why not. You can have a camera as thin as a pinhead.
Right.
So
But
there
they're
is
not
just
looking
no
at technology
excuse.
like that. They're not.
Oh, because it would just be too incriminating for them, put them too much on. Then they will continue. And I'll wait till y'all hear the next half of the show. I'm going to tell you all some things that you did not know was going on in the Hogan administration that do
Wow.
not work to our advantage
Wow.
in any kind of way. Darlene, I was just reading a piece. It talked about the stress and the depression that comes from losing a child.
Yes.
And we were supposed to have had another guest on
Right.
today, and she didn't get back in touch with you. And hers was a cause, what they call celebrate. In other words, her child was the stepson of a very famous local
Right.
entity. And when we first spoke about it, you had told me that she wanted to come on,
Right.
and that you haven't heard from her. And you said something to me that kind of caught me. You said you don't think that she's at the point
Well,
where she can articulate. Is that what you feel, or?
I don't want to put her on the spot, but I know that like a lot of mothers tell me that they want to do a lot of stuff that I do. They want to travel with me. They want to be at all these events and shows. But then sometimes up until the 10th hour, if I don't hear from them, I call them back, and then they say they can't come. But me personally at this point, I'm not able to keep doing a lot of return calls to people. I just can't, because I had a secretary. I don't have a secretary now, but I have to even keep up with my own self. So when things are very important to you, whoever you are, just like you have to go to school today, you have to go to work today. You don't forget that. So, like, I really don't want to,
You're right now.
go out there like that.
No,
but
I'm not
it's just so many. They're not. I do know that a lot of them just not ready. Just like when we go to Annapolis for police accountability, I'll have 10 people on my list. By the time maybe 6, 7 a.m., they all fall off the list. They can't come. They don't
All
have
of them?
transportation. It'll be a good 5 strong, sometimes a good 2 strong. And I just feel in my heart that I have to show up. I just have to. I just put in my mind that no matter what the weather is, no matter how I feel,
how do
if
you
I
get
got to
there?
crawl to Annapolis, I'm going to be there, because rain, snow, and the weather on everything. But when they kill our loved ones, it happens in all kinds of weathers. They don't have a special weather to shoot and kill our children, or even kill them for any reason, for senseless crime. So I feel as though since I came to that point, I don't have any excuse unless I'm hospitalized. And guess what? I probably gonna get out that bed some kind of way.
So I'll see y'all in a minute. I'll be
Probably
back.
gonna get out that. I probably gonna get out there.
Well, tell me this. Like I said, I can't imagine the sorrow. Are some days worse than others for you as missing your son, missing the?
Yes, some days is, because I tell people the rain. I don't care how long it's been. It'll be 10 years for me next month. Well, every time it poured down raining, I think about my son. Even when I'm in my car or when I was driving, I could just have to pull over for a little while. And sometimes even when it's a beautiful, beautiful sunny day, it's a hard day, because I used to go to Drew Hill Park and walk and sit and write. And I would say, wow, he should be here. Our children should be here. It's just so beautiful. They were so young. They deserve to live. And I always felt their life mattered. You know, they didn't have the opportunity to do the things that they wanted to do.
No. Was that your only child?
I have one more son.
Wow.
And people don't understand. You got to pray for the siblings.
Yes.
It's very hard on the siblings. And they need to create programs for the siblings as well. Because I have another son. He's 32. And he's really struggling with it because they always think about my brother's keeper. My brother's keepers are walking up and down the street, shooting each other, killing each other. There's so much crime out here. And, you know, we have family, but you need to talk to your nieces and your nephews. You need to take time with them because they don't always make the right choices.
Right.
Yeah, that trauma lasts a lifetime.
Yes.
Pat. My mother-in-law lost her son, Levi Cheeseborough, to senseless violence in Baltimore City. And it's been over 20 years. And our family still grieves. We still celebrate his birthdays by going to his grave site and visiting his grave site. And you can still see a lot of the emotional scars, a lot of the emotional trauma that was related to losing his life. My son had to witness that. My son was in the home when his uncle was shot and killed. And he was only about 7 years old at the time. So he's always had to live with that. And he was introduced to that type of violence at a very young age. So like you said, we don't have treatment centers or programs or outreach programs that truly try to help heal the community because the community is dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of pain.
Yes, we are. Every day.
You know, and even at an early age, again, he was 7 years old when he witnessed his uncle, you know, being
7
murdered.
years old.
7 years old. My wife witnessed it as well. My wife had to grab my son and run out of the home after his best friend came into, or one of his friends came into the home and shot and killed him over a dispute over a female. You know, and what's even more ironic about the whole situation is he's now out. 20 years has passed. He's served his 20 years. And what's interesting is my family knows that this young man, because he's still a young man, is now out and released. And that brings up even more pain and more trauma because they're saying that, you know, was this sentence harsh enough? You know, was this justice served for them losing their loved one in the process? So, you know, you continue to relive that trauma, especially in Baltimore City.
Forever, thinking about it. He was a law student.
Yes, Dale went to University of Baltimore, and altogether my son went to 3 colleges. He went to Widener University. He transferred to Salisbury University, and he was cum laude there. And then
Cum laude?
Cum laude.
Wow.
Right. So, right, and I was very, very proud because
of course.
I was one of the, I might have been the youngest mother there, I'm not sure. But to see my son graduate and walk down the aisle with every professor with all those ropes
I
on.
know the robes and stuff. I know. I've gone to them and I'd be crying because it's so beautiful.
I couldn't express it, and
right.
So I was very proud of him. And even when he went to UB, he was in his first year of law school, and he was able to tutor people for the is it called LSAT?
I'm not sure.
Before you take your bars.
Before you take your bar
exam. He even was able to tutor people for that, but he wasn't. He was just in his first year, and the young lady had told me at the funeral. She said, you know, he helped her and she passed.
Wow.
She passed.
Well,
and he still had more time to go.
He didn't. Did he have children, your son?
I have 2 granddaughters, 16 and one is 13.
By Dale? Those are Dale's children?
Yeah. And they're doing exceptionally well in school. My youngest, Janae, is an all-A student. And she got the opportunity this summer to go to Madonna for pre-med. And
all right.
Ayana goes to City, and she's doing very well, too. So, like I said, his legacy is education is the key. So I had to keep instilling it to them.
But you had instilled it in him from birth, evidently, because he wouldn't have got to be cum laude, graduate magna, any kind of cum laude from a university. That's a lot of hard work. It doesn't come, don't nobody give you nothing up off in there. So, well.
And in her situation, her son was murdered by a police officer And I've met with other families, like the Anderson family, like the West family. And again, you can see it even in the children. Again, you know, the trauma in their eyes. You know, his granddaughter, you know, just kept emphasizing the fact that the police had killed her grandfather, you know, coming to celebrate a birthday. You know, I'm talking about Anthony Anderson. You know?
I met them too.
Yeah. You know, and it's
you can see the pain in the kids' eyes. You can see it, and a lot of people. I understand that the police had got grant money to come into the communities to do things over the summer and the weekend, the cookouts and all that. But it's a lot of kids still afraid.
Yes,
because they lost so many family members. And then look at the incident recently when the kids seen a young man get beat up by the police. You know, how do you keep explaining those type of situations over and over again, and then don't understand why we have to keep going to Annapolis to keep fighting?
Yeah, we even questioned the use of force in a particular incident that happened at a 7-Eleven. The young man came running out of the 7-Eleven with a shotgun. It turns out that the shotgun wasn't loaded. He never pointed it at the officer, but the officer shot to kill. And everyone keeps telling us, well, these officers are trained to shoot and kill, but where is the preservation of life at? Because don't they have a sworn duty to protect and serve?
Yeah, they do. But you come out of a business with a shotgun, I don't think you should expect much more. Why didn't the young man drop the shotgun in the store?
But he never pointed that weapon at him. And what you find is that these officers are looking to
an excuse to do.
Deadly,
You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WOLB 1010 Baltimore. Don't touch that dial. And listen, we're finna jump into it. We want to thank Darlene.
Thank you,
Kane, for coming in and for celebrating with us and sharing her life and her work with us. We pray for you, and we will pray you Godspeed. Thank you again.
Thank you.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
Yes, welcome back to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. We've just had an incredible interview with the mother of a son who was shot and killed by a Baltimore police officer. And not only do our hearts go out to her, but for me and for all of us, we just can't understand how it is that we pay people to protect us and they end up killing us. It's happening all over the country. How many young black men are being shot in the back and found to be unarmed across the nation? But the nation, the white nation, they're not all white people, I'm not going to generalize, feel like they're being protected by the police, that the police are there to protect them. But y'all need to look. We're not the only ones that are being killed. We're not the only ones that are being brutalized by the police. White people are being brutalized by the police. Kind of reminds me of the situation with Trump, in that they think Trump loves them and he's for them. It was nothing could be further from the truth. Trump is for Trump. And so they're voting for him because I'm going to tell y'all what it is. There's this thing that goes on in the white race at this point. A majority of them feel as though racially they have to fear annihilation. In other words, their people are dying off and they're not having babies like every other population. So that's the reason they're so anti-abortion. Y'all must remember this is going on. They fear annihilation of their race. So what are they doing? That last bastion of elderly people who are dying at 2 to 3% every year. They're dying at 50 years old, much younger years. They're not living as long because of the stress factor. And so what they're doing is this is their last hurrah. And the biggest thing they can do to ensure that they keep a stronghold in America is the Supreme Court, which is what we don't realize. We don't see the big picture. That's why this struggle for Kavanaugh is just go at the forefront of everything. We know this man should not be sitting on the Supreme Court. First of all, he is a Republican of the worst kind. He believes that the president should not cannot be charged while in office, even if there is empirical evidence that the president has done something wrong. He has written papers, but what is coming out is the typical Republican sort of scenario: crimes against women, crimes against women. And so the first thing that this guy will do, there will be a majority on the Supreme Court of conservatives. So one of the first things you watch that they're going to do is they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade.
Oh, and he's announced his pro-life stance.
Yes, he has. Not only has he announced it, but he won't buck down. He won't back down for it. We know what he's going to do. That's why women are so enraged and fighting against his appointment to the Supreme Court. So we must understand not only that, but he's against he's forced voter suppression. He likes the gerrymandering to keep us from voting, as the 4 others sitting on the Supreme conservatives do on the Supreme Court. They're trying to turn back the hands of time. And unless we understand what is going on and get out and vote this November, they're going to do it. We must take over the House and we must take over the Senate with Democrats. It's the only way we're going to stop this madness. And it is madness. I'm telling you, I do not put it past them, especially since they're keeping the immigrants out. Who y'all think they want to pick them tomatoes and that cotton in them fields? Who do you think they have planned to do that? Some of us are going to have to take those jobs because the minimum wage is so low that nobody in America can afford a 2-bedroom apartment. That's how bad it is, because they have to get 2 or 3 jobs, work themselves half to death just to pay rent. We haven't talked about food. I read this morning where the Republicans are getting ready to cut the entitlements. That's food stamps. That's Social Security. That's Medicare. They plan on cutting Medicare by $800 billion. I didn't say million. That's almost $1 trillion. Now, who's going to be at the brunt of that? We are, and all them poor white people, which there are more of them than there are us, which is why I don't understand why they're for Trump and Republicans. It's the racial thing, y'all. Y'all must understand they have a fear of annihilation, and that's what's going on. And we must have a fear of annihilation ourselves. Yeah, I know. Patrick, you're going to say it. Yeah, I'm going to say it. We abort 1,500 babies a month within our people. 1,500 a month, and have been doing it for years. Won't you just wrap it up? If you're going to fall, keep something in your pocket to keep it from happening. We don't know who we're killing. Just think about that. We don't know who we're killing. Darlene's son, who was a law student, who graduated cum laude from his school, killed by people we paid to protect us. Y'all, listen, and I have met some people who are saying, well, I don't vote no more because your vote don't get anything. That is simply not true. That's just like saying the doctor tell you got cancer and you ain't going to him no more because he ain't healed everybody of cancer. You might get healed. They might find something for you. So it's ridiculous to say that you're not a voter. It's just you've just given up, and when you do not vote, then you let fools rule and control your lives. That's simple as all outdoors, day and night, when you don't vote. So these people want to call me about these great prophets who've told them and showed them how it doesn't matter their votes. They are misleading you. They are misleading you. They're fatalists. They have given up. They don't have any other answer other than not to do it. That is not the answer. We must vote.
And the reason why I brought up the police incident with the young man with the shotgun is because we've seen many cases where they try to preserve white lives. I've seen many videos on YouTube, with folks running around with knives in their hand, wielding knives, wielding guns, right? And they tend to be white. And all they do is they'll run them over with a patrol car, or they'll continue to talk them down until they're able to use a less lethal method to take them into custody. And that's all I'm saying, is that there's no respect for black lives. Black lives don't matter when it comes to blue lives.
That's exactly what it is.
So true.
And no matter whether they're in the State House or whether they're in the White House, we don't matter to any of them. And until we realize our value, which we invented civilization, if we realized who we are, but first of all, that we have a right in this country to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes,
and
we
that
do.
people have died for those causes. So to
Pave
say
the
you're
way.
not voting is just, to me, you're just a sellout of the worst kind. Charles, you have a question or comment. Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Before you do, 410-481-1010. 410-481-1010. Please call us in and let us know. And I want to be open today. I want to be open to people. If you're not voting, call and tell us why. I can't make you teach you anything. We don't try to teach you. We just hopefully will make you think and reconsider your position when you look at the bigger picture and not the micro, which is you. Charles, you have a question or comment?
I have both.
Thank you. Come forth.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely not a voter anymore. And I'm not a voter because I don't see, how voting is effective. So let me ask you a question. Why don't we have any of our issues on the ballot? We talk about issues day in and day out.
What do you care? You don't vote, sir. You don't vote. So what do you care? Why are you concerned? If you don't vote, why would that concern you?
Is that the answer?
No, I'm asking you why you don't vote. If you're concerned about it and you don't vote, why should you be concerned?
And Brother Charles, another thing, what we find is that in our community, we do not understand how legislation works. And that's something that we're trying to teach on this program, that we're trying to teach on other programs. Hold on a second, Brother Charles. Let me answer this. The problem is in the white community, they have groups like ALEC. And they will come together as a collective group, and they will write legislation and policy and
like
present
Stand Your Ground,
right?
to kill
Like Stand
black
Your
people.
Ground, and they were and other oppressive laws that have been put in place in the urban community that tend to target young black males and females within our community, and they will present that to lawmakers, and they will lobby and push to get this legislation passed. We don't have these super PACs. We don't have these organized committees. And that's where we really need to start at. And for you to get out of the process and not be a part of the process, when technically you need to be a part of the process and get together with a super PAC, create our own super PAC, create our own lobbying groups, and get out there and put that legislation forward.
All he's got to do is vote, man. Go ahead, Charles. We're listening.
So I'm guessing y'all don't want to answer the question why we don't get our issues on the ballot.
He just answered the
I
question.
just explained it to you. We're not proactive. We're not proactive in the process where they are. And if you're going to step away from the table, like you're saying you're stepping away now, then you are part of the problem, Brother Charles. You are part of the problem.
Second thing I want to bring up. Okay. Now, we now have artificial intelligence, which we are training with our cell phones, with our tablets, with our smart TVs, with our smart houses. It's learning everything about you, your habits, your whereabouts, and everything else.
Yes,
and
sir.
soon it will be linking up with Eye in the Sky, to keep track of you. Every time you go to a meeting, they will track you back to your house, and they don't have to put COINTELPRO. This is the new COINTELPRO. So now that you have all these things, they are getting open permissions from you. Card will transfer into your political permissions. They're already doing stuff without.
No, you're not, but you can't have the contradictory terms either. So everybody can see that you are conflicted.
But I do understand his point as far as this collection of data is concerned. And
What
I don't
is
know
new?
if you saw, but I don't know if you saw 60 Minutes this weekend where they were talking about how Google, was collecting all of this data, and in some cases they're in violation of antitrust laws.
I saw it.
And are considered to be truly a monopoly. We do have to watch that collection of data, like he said, because how is it?
Who you think they're more
utilized?
efficient than the FBI?
Oh no! Of course.
I'll end my argument with that.
In that building out there on Route 32.
Come on,
NSA.
Come on. No, so yeah, we're little swatting at gnats.
The things in the sky. They call the trolls.
Yeah, the drones.
Yeah, exactly. No.
The blimps.
So what are we talking about here? Oscar, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. 410-481-1010. I want you to call. I'm gonna try to be nice to both sides of your mouth. Oscar, you have a question or comment?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Let me say this to y'all. Y'all have more patience than I do. You're talking about not attack. I mean, honest, I am so sick and tired of these Negroes with conspiracy theories.
Oh my goodness.
Like they the only one found out something. Y'all, if there was a conspiracy out there, y'all be the last one to know it. That's for sure. Now, anybody who say they don't care who if this man gets on the Supreme Court, you know why they don't care? These people don't vote anyway.
Right,
They
that's
don't
true.
care. Now, and they say they like Hogan. They asked Hogan to open an investigation about this situation in Maryland with Kavanaugh and
Yes.
Professor Ford.
Yes.
Hogan said no.
Yes, he did.
I told y'all, as soon as Hogan get this second term, if he get a second term, he gonna show his real self.
Yes, sir.
He was being a little sly with black people. Well, I'm not like Trump. The hell he's not. He's exactly like Trump.
Yes, he is.
And
yes,
we
he
need
is.
to understand that. And when these people come by attack, they got a conspiracy theory. They say they put this and that, and the children weren't killed in Sandy Hook, and all this kind of foolishness. I don't spend 5 minutes talking to them. As soon as I hear that, I go somewhere else. And I want to commend you guys for having the patience to sit there and listen to that kind of foolishness. I know some show you say you want to give everybody a chance to talk, but they wouldn't talk on my show. And they ain't talk to me because I don't pay these clowns no attention whatsoever. These people are provocateurs, and we should stop listening to provocateurs.
Brother Oscar, if Kavanaugh is not necessarily like Trump, he is part of that constituency that evangelical Christian white.
No, you misunderstood
group.
me. I didn't say Kavanaugh is exactly like Trump.
You said Hogan.
I said Hogan is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Thank
That's
you.
why I said Hogan is like Trump.
Yeah.
Kavanaugh is just a useful idiot.
Yes,
But you
sir.
want to get on that Supreme Court and try to turn back the clock on everybody, women, black people.
That's right.
We're all decent people.
That's right. Thank
what
you,
Patrick
Oscar.
say the other day? Sheep in wolf's clothing.
Sure, that ain't this is a wolf in wolf's clothes, and they're even trying to act like he a sheep, just lying every opportunity. Richard, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Before you speak, 410-481-1010. What do you say? What do you think? Does Hogan, what is the word I want? Does he deserve another chance? Is he not a Trump clone? This very smoothly doing some things that are just setting back. And I'm going to read you all. We want to take a couple more calls, but I'm going to tell you what he did when he first came into office. The stuff he vetoed that would have made it better for a better understanding and coexistence with the police in the city of Baltimore that he vetoed. It's just unbelievable. We're going to go with Richard. Richard, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Good morning. Good afternoon,
morning,
sir.
Patrick.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing reasonably well.
Oh, that's good.
First off, let me just fill you in on some things you may have heard, Patrick. Myself and a few other people are working on a batch of proposed legislation to change a lot of things within the criminal justice agencies and organizations, well, not only within this state, but especially with this city.
Mm-hmm.
I should have the main bulk of them finished within the next 30 days.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll get them to the Baltimore City delegation of the Maryland General Assembly before the Legislative Black Caucus meets in November, I think, in Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want them to take a look at it first, and we want them to sponsor it since it directly affects the city.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great news. And I know y'all don't know who this is. This gentleman was there from the beginning, from the auxiliary police we had a few years back. He was one of the progenitors and one of the help to organize and to write the rules and the systems by which they used to operate, and it was effective. It cut down overtime. It cut down crime. Wow. Those policemen, black or community auxiliary cops who came in and knew the people and talked to them, talked them down, engaged them. This is the man that helped to do that. So we're excited to hear that you are involved in doing something. Do you think it's going to be effective, or do you think the climate is just so erratic at this point?
Well, let's put it this way. One of the major things we're even working on now is with respect to the Civilian Review Board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're now in fact, a letter was sent to the city solicitor asking him to remove himself from dealing with the Civilian Review Board because of a potential conflict of interest.
Oh, really?
Because how can he represent the Civilian Review Board?
Oh, yes.
And represent the police department at the same time?
It's just not, and I'm surprised because this judge came forth with high ratings and high respectability, and just so you think he's been compromised by the system, by the mayor? Well, why I wouldn't be surprised?
The distinguished attorney Dwight Pettit said he should know better.
Hey, he sure did. Dwight Pettit said this guy should know better, and he knows better.
Yeah.
But it looks like what happens, Richard, when they get into office. There's something that's going on.
Well, let me put it this way, and I do my research,
Mm-hmm.
and Baltimore is not alone in this fact. I saw a story about the same thing happened in New York, where their Civilian Review Board is compromised by a special unit within the district attorney's office that is specifically designed to thwart the Civilian Review Board.
Really?
And
in New York City?
In New York City, yeah.
What? Go ahead, I'm listening.
And the judges are tired of it because they slow down the process, they deny subpoenas and the whole 9 yards. So it's not
just Baltimore.
It's not just Baltimore alone. San Francisco's the same way. That's why I believe the Department of Justice is coming into there. The Los Angeles, they have a comprehensive Civilian Review Board, but the mayor manipulates it and shuts it and thwarts what happens. So it's not only here.
And he's selective about how he does it, isn't he? They all selective, are.
And also, he controls who gets on the Civilian Review
no,
Board.
I'm surprised that's happening in L.A.
And but no, there is a lot that has to be done, and I'll give you just this, and I may talk about this further by the time I get close to finishing the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I came across a document, and that document seems to be the blueprint for the consent decree.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something for you all to think about. Prior to the signing of the consent decree, the two words that you constantly heard was community policing, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Since that consent decree was signed, have you heard those two words anymore?
Nope.
All you hear now is what's called constitutional policing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And unfortunately, a byproduct of this constitutional policing is the reduction in arrests and reduction of a lot of things. Because now, the way constitutional policing works, things like, in our community or in other communities, they have a propensity to be on the corners, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they do it according to the Constitution, the First Amendment says you have a right to assemble for lawful purposes, lawful and peaceful purposes. Now, the criminal element are now getting smart enough through their lawyers or whoever to say, if law enforcement can't see you doing anything wrong, even though the community knows what you're doing, if they don't see you, they can't touch you.
Oh, really? Well, that's really interesting because we're having a problem down at Dolefield.
I know.
People say you live in the neighborhood.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
But check this out, though. The police, whomever is over that area down there, says that because we've sent them pictures of people sitting there, and we can't film people dealing drugs, but certainly they're sitting there, and she's telling me that the police have observed, and what they're seeing is a bunch of old timers sitting down there exchanging libations. Lady, I know your police can see them people sitting there nodding.
But that's unfortunately that's the way that I think that this thing is being interpreted.
Interesting. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much, Richard. We really appreciate that your work. And for many of you don't know, Richard he has a lack of sight. He's blind. Yes. Wow. And he's one of them. We're going to go with Mark C. 410-481-1010. We've got a couple of lines open, and we want to hear from you all. Are you going to vote? Do you feel that Hogan deserves another chance? Or are we not talking enough about Ben Jealous and the possibilities of his track record that he's proved to be a man of integrity and brilliance? What are your thoughts? Mark C. Mark Cannon, is that you?
How y'all doing, man?
We're fine. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm enjoying your show, man. Thanks, Pat. That's what we need, man. We got to hold folk accountable. I say that all the time. And guess what?
What?
Richard, that you were just talking to, man, him and Doc, I did an hour show with them yesterday.
You did, yeah.
Yes,
him
sir.
and Doc Cheatham, yes.
Ain't nobody going to be comfortable on our watch, are they?
No, they're not, and that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. We got to realize that the people don't know. I can't tell you how many messages I got last week when I talked about who Larry Hogan were. People had no idea that this man was a member of ALEC, supported by the Koch brothers, who are the ones that set up that Stand Your Ground law. This is a racist organization that's breaking unions, and every chance they get to set the people back and control them, that's what they do. And Trump just gave them the biggest tax break in the history of the world. And now the first thing on the page today is the Republicans talking about cutting food stamps, cutting Medicare, cutting Social Security. And you are supporting these people? No.
Got to go.
And
not only that, let's not forget the missing link. I was down with Memorial Plaza, and the man that died, I'm trying to think of his name. What was the brother that died? They used to run for Congress.
Run for Congress? Kavanaugh?
Cabinets.
Corrigan.
Corrigan Bond. Yeah.
Me and Corrigan didn't agree on a lot, but Corrigan was down there, and Corrigan, till he passed away, he was so upset, Pat, about the missing link situation, the mass transit, that he was calling for a boycott before he passed. But look, guys, Brother Israel, they're giving away suits. Brother Israel announced it yesterday. High-end suits, Armani, Joseph S. Bank, the shirts and all that at his place all this week, y'all.
Oh, do you have to be Poe to come get them? No, I'm just kidding.
What's the hours? What's the hours?
I'm definitely Poe.
Everybody needs it. That's what I'm saying. You know me, but I am not going over there and take no suit. But I won't. But every man needs a good suit hanging in his closet.
Absolutely.
Every man, every young man. Yes.
432 Park Heights Avenue. Y'all brothers take care, man, and keep the good work up.
We can't. Thank you for that information.
Thank you.
I got a shoulder surgery tomorrow.
Well, we keep you in prayer all the time, man. You're a soldier, and we pray that a quick recovery and that guide the surgeon's hands.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Love you too. Thank you so much. We're going to go to Brother Fred. Fred, how are you today? Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People.
Is this Uncle Fred?
Hey, how's everybody?
Hey, Uncle Fred.
Hello.
I'm going to ruffle y'all feathers a little bit.
You hope.
I'm going to vote for Hogan again. I think it's a disservice to say that this man is not trying to do the best he can for the help of the state of Maryland, and about to cut the food stamp program. If the unemployment rate is the lowest it's been in the history of the country, why can't you cut the food stamp?
Because it wasn't because of Trump that it is so. It's because of Obama.
Right, the policies
Trump couldn't create a fly. His life has been that of total failure. 5 bankruptcies, and you want to support this man? Or people in his party? You got to be kidding me, Fred. I thought you were brighter than that, but it's questionable at this point.
Wait a minute, Pat. Now, you say the man's a complete failure. He's just that other thing. The man's worth a couple $1 billion.
He is not.
I don't think he said a complete failure.
Oh, he is a complete failure because they can't prove that he's worth $1 billion. I know you cannot prove it. You can't give me any citation. It's not true. They can prove he's ever been worth $1 billion. Wow. He's supported by the Russians. They've been undergirding him for years, keeping him in business because no bank in America would give him any more money because he's such a bad manager. Next, to your next point, sir.
Well, the Wall Street people that Obama bailed out, remember those people he bailed out?
Yes.
Did any of them go to jail for what they did?
No, and that's a travesty, and I don't like Obama for it. I agree with you. That's wrong. That was terrible. Bad move on Obama's part. Next.
And they're still in business. They're still doing what they've been doing.
Your next point, sir.
The point is, Patrick, I think we do our community this injustice by continuously telling us, instead of being political power brokers, which voting on both sides of the table would make us, you're saying our community is constantly telling us, vote Democrat, when they have a 50-year proven record. Now, I don't know about anyplace else, but I know in the state of Maryland, for 50 years they've done nothing but suppress black people, the Democratic Party. So I think we do our community this injustice by continuously telling us, keep voting Democrat, regardless of who you send out here. Ben Jealous, whoever. I mean, think about this. The Democratic Party is the party of the state.
The what?
Of the state of Maryland. But yet Ben Jealous is begging for money to run?
I know that. That just shows, that's infidelity. That's infidelity.
What does it tell you?
It tells me that they're all in the back pockets of Hogan.
Right, and in
really?
some cases,
Democratic Party?
There are factions of it. There's the black preachers I just heard this morning are backing Hogan. That's why their churches are emptying, because they have no care for the people. Right. Yes, sir. I'm gonna vote Democratic because even if they're not 100%, they are not zero like the Republicans, and they are Republicans. Thugs on rewind, sir. KKK members, the majority of them, they have those sympathies, and that's what they support. You can look at that legislation. Yes, please do, sir.
Let me make one more statement real quick. You know where the birthplace of Blue Dog Democrats is?
Yes, go ahead.
Where is it?
Probably Maryland. Go ahead.
Remember this always, Patrick. They fought on the side of the Union, but Maryland embraced slavery.
Yes, sir.
So when y'all would get off the plantation, they were Democrats.
Yeah, but that was a completely different party.
Hold on, they weren't all Democrats. There was another party at the time as well, and I've read up on it.
Who, the Dixiecrats? Who are you talking about?
Well, there was another party at the time.
The Know Nothings.
Right, but here's the thing to answer the Fred. The reason why most candidates that are like Benjamin Jealous, that are like Senator Jill Carter, struggle with raising money is because those that they represent tend to be disenfranchised. Those that they tend to represent tend to be the poor.
That's not true.
It is true. It is true. There has been many issues that Delegate Carter has stood on that represented the disenfranchised, that represented the urban community, that wasn't necessarily
the poor
for the
in general, not even the come quickly because it's 12:30 and I want to get as many calls.
Ben Jealous represents the NAACP. They're not poor people.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that those that he is standing up
colored
for,
people, but he didn't say poor people. He said colored people.
And
people
many
of
of them tend to be disenfranchised. Many of them tend to be
historically
the working middle class, the working poor class that don't believe in the process, that don't see anything in the process. And whereas the white middle class, they will drag their grandmama
out the nursing home and at the grave if they think they can get one more breath out of them
to make sure that she votes.
Thank you, Fred, as usual. We appreciate you.
And we said that yesterday.
Yes, we're going to go with Charles. Charles, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment?
A comment, yes. Patrick, I've never agreed with you on anything. And we probably won't agree in the future. But I want to applaud you. Delegate Glenn and Lou Fields for setting the record straight on that other show, on the Larry Young show this morning. Okay, now I'm going to tell you something. Larry Hogan doesn't need he wants.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, I can't call, man, on any one of the white stations and say anything positive about Ben Jealous. So, you know, I'm so sick and tired. If Larry Hogan got something to say to black people, then he needs to bring his white butt on black radio and answer the questions that we have for him, and not have some surrogate from D.C. or someplace else always speaking
or
for
the
him.
lieutenant governor.
Or the lieutenant governor. And my final point is this. Do you recall the vote suppression campaign that that took place back in 2010, and the fact that Robert Ehrlich was the mastermind of that campaign.
Yes, sir.
People were sent to prison, including Julius Henson, who was all convicted and given time. Surrogate, I think his name's Surrogate. Okay, guess who was during the whole planning phase? Guess who was Hogan's appointment secretary?
Election board.
Ehrlich's appointment secretary. It was Hogan. Hogan sit there during that whole process, that whole voter suppression campaign of Robert Ehrlich while he was his appointment secretary, and he was part of the campaign to suppress the black vote. And then we got Negroes on black radio that will talk about that.
I know.
They'll bend over backwards to defend Ehrlich. If a white man got something to say to me, let him bring his white butt on our radio station and answer our questions. I don't need Bush McGann or any other Negro speaking for him.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I'm sorry you don't agree with me about anything, but one thing I know, my ass is black, but my skin is black, and I'm more concerned about our black skin. We got that in common. You got a different ass than me, but our skin is black, and I am for our people. So I don't know what it is you don't agree with me, and I would love to talk to you about it, but I want you to know we are one on this particular issue. Thank you,
we
sir.
have disagreements on other topics. Now, I just want to say...
Okay, you so spoke broadly.
At the time, this is something on which we agree. And I do believe that Ben Jealous is going to shock the state of Maryland and win this election.
If we get out and vote, he can do it. All he needs is PG County, Montgomery County, and Baltimore City, and Hogan is toast. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We're going to go to, I believe it's Dwayne. Dwayne, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment, sir?
I'm not a man.
Okay, Diane.
Diane.
I didn't see. Oh, I see that at I in the Lord. I need to go get my glasses checked. I'm sorry. Hi, Di. How are you?
Excuse me, I had to laugh at that one. I'm fine, Patrick. I'm very fine. How y'all doing?
We well. How are you,
Sister Queen?
Right. I enjoy your show, but some people might disagree with me. I am tired of both of the parties.
Yeah.
I am really, really tired of both of the parties because they are not meeting the African Americans' need. The Republicans nor the Democrats. Democrats put on a front. Republicans, you know what they're going to do. You know that they're not going to do this and that. But the Democrats, the starch ones, the ones that they call that came from that Dixiecrat party, they hide that stuff and being liberalized where they, this, I'm for this and I'm for that. But like you were saying, Patrick, so many African American women abort babies every single second. They for that. But when it comes down to their children having abortion, that can't happen. So to me, you're being hypocritical on that part. Even the Republicans, they'll tell you, we're not against abortion, but then they crucify you if you have a child
and won't give you food stamps to feed that baby that you couldn't afford to have. Now let me get this clear, because I don't want nobody to think that I am against abortion and a woman's right to choose. I think that is your right to do it. I just wish more of us would think about protection and birth control before we do. That's all I'm saying. So I don't want to get no letters and nothing.
I agree with you, Patrick. Okay, I agree with you. Excuse me. We have done misstep because we listened to that man whispering in our ears the sweet nothings.
Yes.
And then without being ready, we're unprotected.
Yes.
And we have unprotected sex, and then we get pregnant, and there's the argument. But I didn't call about that. I just called about the two parties. Yes, I'm going to vote. I have been voting since I was 18. I missed two because with my ignorance, and I can say this now because I know better. I was sick at both times. One, I had surgery and did not know that I could do absentee ballot. And both of them was times that I was sick. And I didn't know that. And then, like I said, with my ignorance, I had to learn that you can call for an absentee ballot when you can't go out. So I'm learning that, so I'm letting other people know.
Yes, and I want to add to that, that if you're a convicted felon in the state of Maryland, you can vote.
Yes, because I was with Selena Marriott.
Yes.
She was a delegate, and she fought many years. And those white people down there, Democrats and Republicans, fought her tooth and nail. They kept killing her bill, but she never gave
yes,
up.
her
And that's
Christopher Irving, I believe brother Doc Cheatham.
It was a lot of us standing because me, Doc Cheatham, and what's his name? He's with the clerk office, Hassan.
Yeah, Hassan, right,
I still got my jacket said "Rock the Vote."
Yes.
And we were down there every time in Annapolis. That's what Darlene was talking about. We got to do our interests. If we want to go to Annapolis when it first started, you might not can get there all the time. But like I said, even if you can't get there right,
that
represent you and let them know, look, I'm against this bill. I'm for this bill because it protects my community.
But like you said, we need to go get absentee ballot. If we don't want to be bothered about going to the thing, there are ways that we have no excuse. Thank you, Diane. Love you much, sweetheart.
Hey, Patrick, real quick. So the parties that I was talking about at the time was the Whig Party.
Okay.
There was it was called the Democratic Republican Party, which those were considered to be the Southern Dixiecrats. And then you had the National Republicans, and you had the Federalists. So there were other parties at the time, and I'm looking at...
Why don't you see, you don't see nothing about the know-nothings? Brother Carlos, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you today?
We're good, Carlos.
Good morning.
Get right to the point there. You have been jealous out there, and he needs to articulate
his higher visibility.
His strong points, and he needs to, for example, Hogan is very slick because he's co-opting everything that Ben Joseph's lockbox.
Yeah, that's the real one.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and
for those that don't know what the lockbox is, when the legislation was approved for the lottery system, there was a designation for that the money or a certain portion of the money would go to schools. And
but that never really made it into the language of the law.
Well, because O'Malley was the one that made sure that it didn't. What happened was they decided that whatever the budget was, they should be able to stand for it, and they could do at whim what they wanted to do with the overflow. And this is what Hogan has been doing. He's been sending the money to the county schools, and we can't even get our air conditioning and heating systems working.
There was a shell game that was also played as well when they did decide, when Hogan came in and they did decide to start allocating the money towards education. They took away the original education trust fund that was supported by the taxpayers.
Yes, exactly.
So there was a shell game that was played.
Yeah, let me say that in every aspect, as far as Baltimore is concerned, Hogan has turned his derriere against or up to Baltimore and shown it.
And PG County.
And PG County in terms of the education system.
And Montgomery, except Montgomery is so rich, such a rich county.
Yeah, in terms of transportation, getting the poor people to the jobs and so forth. And even I'm in a different part of the state. I'm in Charles County. They replaced a black Republican winner of the primary, Hogan, and this lily white millionaire down here replaced him on the ballot so that the lily white millionaire would get a chance to run for the Senate and give Hogan more leverage in the Senate.
See, that's little sneaky stuff that don't nobody hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Carlos. I'm going to try to get everybody in. Thank you. Y'all heard what he just said. This is the kind of little sneaky stuff that you don't hear, because the more Republicans that Hogan has in the state legislature, the easier it is for him to put forth these things. And this is what he's planning on doing. Like everybody said, wait till he gets another term. You ain't seen nothing what this guy is going to do, because he already has the forms set in place.
And he doesn't have to worry about re-election.
Re-election, exactly. Ahmed, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
I have a comment.
Come quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think anybody that has the right to vote and don't vote is as dangerous and as ignorant as someone who goes out there and votes for something that's not in their best interest. Now the big problem is here is that when Baker, Kevin Cabinets, who transitioned, we all know that, and Jealous was going to the primary, everybody had made up their mind that they was going to vote for Kevin Cabinets. Now,
he transitioned. That through this whole state, especially Baltimore, that sent them, they was knocked to their knees. And as far as they're concerned, when this election comes November the 6th, they might go in there and write down Kevin Cabinets, because that's just how confused our people are in Baltimore and the surrounding counties called Maryland. Our people are confused when it comes to voting, and you can tell it's a barometer that you can read to show their ignorance. 2018, they still don't know about politics. Thank you for their time.
Thank you, sir. And you are so true. It is so right, everything you have just said. 410-481-1010. We got 17 minutes.
And I have a problem, truly, Patrick, with anybody that, again, won't address our community directly and sends,
but he didn't do it the first time, did he? He was a little more visible.
He was a little bit more visible.
But he didn't have to do much.
I remember a lot of Facebook posts of him walking through the neighborhoods. So he was actually walking through some of the most torn neighborhoods. And I remember Brother Donnie Glover and a lot of folks walking him through, showing him some of the despaired areas in Baltimore City. And at the time, I was hopeful. That's one of the reasons
we
why
all were.
I
voted
truly,
for him.
Wanted to be
My
a
main
supporter
reason for voting for him was to get rid of all of the residual effects of the O'Malley people, to get them out of office, to get them out of power.
But see, I didn't even look at it from that aspect. I looked at it at the fact that he was on to me in our community walking around. When I saw a lot of people's social media posts, they were showing him walking around the neighborhoods. And again, I really thought that he was going to do something different than what's been done in Annapolis for Baltimore City. And
the
same
old bait and switch. Yeah. That's what it is. Alex, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
Shalom, shalom. Good afternoon to all.
Thank you.
Yes. I don't know why y'all so hard on Hogan, and because what I seen Hogan do when he walked through them communities, he did in completion of the Hilton to Milton project that's already in progress. Let's put it that way.
What are the results?
Hilton to Milton.
And what is that? And I've never heard of that. What is that you're talking about?
And again, you sure that's not John Hopkins? You talking about the Milton area?
No, don't try to cross me up. I'm talking about.
We're asking facts, sir.
That new building. It's a housing project right up there off of North Avenue and I think Longwood. That's Hogan right there.
Were you talking about that like the ones that are on Greenmount Avenue? You talking about those new apartment complexes?
I'm talking about the brand new one. Listen to what I'm saying. Right. Don't try to cross me up, my brother.
I'm not crossing you up. So again, I'm asking you for clarity.
He's on defense.
Hogan, complete. It's a Hilton to Milton project that's going on under Larry Hogan right now.
Give us the address, sir.
I'm going to research that because I know that there's a development on Greenmount Avenue that just went up.
This development is right here at Longwood and North Avenue.
I know what you're talking about. All those brand new apartments that are over there.
And he's going down. He's not finished. He's going straight on down to the east side to Milton Street. Then he's going to go clean on over to Argonne Drive, and I think that's Lockwaven Boulevard.
Wait a minute. I live in that area. Right. Drive by there daily. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about those new apartment complexes that are right there. Right where all the shopping little area is, right before you get to Hilton Street, right before you make the turn.
That's right.
Right on Hilton Street. Which I thought, like I said, those were private developers that took advantage of. Because there's many of them that are doing that throughout the city that are taking advantage of federal grant money, state and city money to be able to develop mixed use and low income housing in some of the most despaired areas.
If that is the case, then why hasn't Hogan?
And I don't see Hogan's name on it.
I don't see him mentioning it. If he was doing something that rich in the black community,
he's already mentioned the Hilton to Milton project.
Okay.
Remember that?
No.
I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna look into that and bring that to the table
one more comment,
next week.
One more comment. Then I'm about the food stamps. Sending the food stamps.
And Medicare and Social Security. Yes.
Okay. The food stamps need to be not for the disabled and people with disability, but it need to be ended for these. The females that's on the welfare, it has to end. And the reason why I'm saying that, because that's the main problem. Our black brothers are in jail now because of food stamps and child support. So that got to go.
So, brother, I gotta discredit you, unfortunately. So that project, that Hilton to Milton project, I'm looking at it right here on WBAL's website, was a $10 million federal grant, just like I said, because I live in the Irvington community, and we're looking at doing some of the same thing as well. We have some developers that are in our area that want to develop some of the same type of housing in the Irvington community. And the reason why they haven't moved forward yet is because the federal dollars haven't fallen in place yet. So most of these projects that you're talking about, the ones that are on Greenmount, the ones that are on Milton, please don't try to make it seem like Governor Hogan had something to do with it. When these projects are federally funded,
he had nothing to do with it.
These are federally funded.
Man, who has
family? Go to WBALTV.com and look up. It says right here, $10 million federal grant funds North Avenue Rising Project. That's what it says here.
What's the date? What's the date on the ad?
On this article?
Yes.
I don't see the.
It should be at the top.
But again, it says right here, it says a $27.3 million plan includes repaving roads, rebuilding the Penn North section. If you say so, but sir,
the article doesn't mention his name is the federal
by saying that it's a $10 million federal grant.
I'm just letting you know Hogan had a lot to do with that.
Of course you think so.
Of course.
Whatever.
Right.
Pray Era, I'm coming to you. And PFK Boom, I'm so glad you called because I got to talk to you. But let's see what Pray Era has to say. Pray Era, how are you today, sweetheart? Come quickly.
Good. Good afternoon to you and your co-host and guest. I don't know if you all know, but tonight I understand from 7 to 8 there's going to be only 1 hour. It's going to be the gubernatorial debate. And I'm also wondering something as well. My question is, do you think they should have had more than one debate, number one and number two?
Yes.
What do you think of the gentleman Wolf that's running for Attorney General? Because I've seen a Republican. When you go to fill out the paper, how do you do that? That would be my second question.
Thank you. I wish I could answer them. I'm really concerned that gentleman you just spoke about, Craig. He responded to a post that I had where George Mitchell over at Park Heights had said he was voting for Hogan and he wanted everybody to know it. And then I posited on the pages some of the things that Hogan is doing and has done and who he is. And that gentleman responded. Now, before this HBCU thing came up, I thought Frosh, whatever his name is, was doing a fairly good job. He seemed to say the right things. Me. Now, somebody came on, I believe it was the attorney Nevadon, and said that he had heard that the opposite, that the governor had nothing to do with it. I think I might have that mixed up. Right. But we heard Lieutenant Governor say on Larry Young's show that the governor did that was all Brian Frosh's deal, that it was not the governor that did it. So I think it would help the governor tremendously
to come
out and say, I'm for it. He offered $100 million, but we know the several $100 million are needed to make restitution for the way that black schools have been treated.
And come on Urban Radio. And Patrick, just to the article, he is correct in a sense. It says that this project was a collaboration between the Rollins-Blake administration and Republican Governor Hogan. So it says
was Hogan a governor during Rollins-Blake? Yeah.
But they were what it was transportation money involved into it. So the 10 million. So in other words, for these projects to work, you have to have all the dollars in place. So they won't move forward unless all the pieces are in place.
So that's why Hogan can claim that he had something to do with it?
Well, again, he may have had something to do with making sure that the state's participation was there. Stephanie Rollins-Blake made sure that the city's participation was there. But again, this project did not move forward unless it was a federally funded program.
Right.
And a lot of these programs don't move forward unless they are federally funded programs.
You said that. All right. PFK Boom, how are you?
How you doing, Pat? What's up, Jason?
Man,
What's
you read my mind, and I was spiritually connected to you. And I don't know why you're calling, but I got this question for you. What are you all doing, the 300 gangsters, to get all of your people who have had to live lives that come out of incarceration? Are you all doing a mounted effort to get them all registered and to vote in November?
Well, most of ours is all anybody that PFK. You know, I'm affiliate to myself personally by me being a political arm. I'm affiliated with Out for Justice.
Oh, okay.
So we actually, so I talk in prisons. I mean, that's what I do. So that process for the ones that are already, I was on the legislation for ex-offenders to vote. So as far as the ones who do, I just gave them an opportunity to have a voice. But yes, for the ones that want to do it, but see. Pat, what's happening is on that situation is that the ex-offenders agenda has fell on deaf ears for a while where, I'm talking to men, let's just say, in Hogan's situation. I got men in prison that's had parole since 2008, but Hogan supposed to use the pen to get them off. It's over like 250 men I got in prison that Hogan has not released who got parole. So what is our parole board for? So you got a lot of, that's how that go. You can make parole, but you don't get it until Hogan says you make it. See, people don't know that. So I got men in there just wasting taxpayers' dollars. Guys who ain't had a ticket since 1999. So that's another story. But yes, my ex-offender community that I'm associated with, which is Out for Justice, very deep in Annapolis. But what I'm into is the outcome, Pat. And with me being an ex-offender, I got to, and I'm the resurrection of the ex-offender with Brother Bay and the things we do. Those guys' voice is not on the table only when it's this time, meaning right now. Everybody will say, but see, it takes an ex-offender to lead an ex-offender, and they don't even have people like me or Brother Bay or the people that, what you just asked me, we don't even have the people who got the pen that would ask such question. You got to have me at the table, if you like me or not. I used to be that person you don't. How you going to tell me how to change me? You know what I mean? Like, so it takes an ex-offender to lead an ex-offender. It takes an addict. But yes, Pat, you would be surprised, like myself, that some of your ex-offenders and some of your people incarcerated know more about the political process because our lives depend on it. See, we got our pen, the pen is mightier than a sword, so we're sitting over the jail for a political situation. So our lives every day that we come from a political standpoint back into society, so we already are probably 10 steps ahead of the average citizen because we don't have the rat race upon us, going to work, going in, so we have time to know. But yeah, this has been definitely a best of both evil political process for the past 3 decades. So basically, all power has always had to been with the people for anything that work, or we call trickle down, as you see, for any of us, which is civil duty.
Yes, sir. Listen, man, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I've been intending to call you and wondered if there was anything we can do to even for those offenders who don't know that they can vote. So many people, I told some kids the other day.
What we want you to do, we want the ex-offender to actually run. We don't even want them to vote. We want them, our ex-offender that used to be an ex-offender, we want him to run for office. I hear that. And we want to get behind him because the ex-offender used to eat, and drink half and half in chicken box, so he knows the citizens. So yeah, we want ex-offenders to not only just vote, but you got 20,000 ex-offenders in Baltimore, 40,000 in Maryland. That's more people right there than any citizen.
That could win any election. That could swing any election.
The power going to be with the ex-offenders, and I'm coming. Salute.
Salute. Thank you so much. And thank you, God, because I do believe that we are spiritually connected. And I wanted to say, and I forgot to say, PFK Boone called in, and you called in, and that's exactly what we needed to hear. Y'all don't realize that the most in what is the word, empowering thing can happen to a black man who is an ex-offender is learning politics. They come from a completely different place because they've experienced the injustice of our justice system or our injustice system. So thank you so much.
And family, please stay with us. Don't tune off on the live streams. When we get off, I'm going to talk about that construction project, the Milton to Hilton, because it's some of the most disparaging development that's going on in the area. Like, for instance, there are no supermarkets in that area, and you still have a whole dilapidated community that surrounds that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more off air.
Okay, I still don't know where it is. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't see no new apartments on the place.
Refresh your memory.
That ain't on the corner right there, Madonna.
No, that's on the corner of Hilton and North Avenue. Where you make that turn right there, you have the Kennedys, I believe it's fried chicken place that sits right there on the corner. All that drug activity that goes on. But wait a minute,
I thought that happened with
going down to Compton.
Nick Mosby. I thought he was the one that was responsible for that.
I'm pretty sure that there was many legislators involved.
I know what you're talking about now.
Because again, you have to be able to release the transportation funding.
I see. Hold on, let me take Robert. Robert, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, I just know the progress. If you're going off the air, no longer call it Baltimore, call it Ferguson, Maryland. Because that's what it reminds me of.
You telling the truth. Same policies.
The economics.
Yes.
Ferguson, Maryland.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And you are so absolutely right. When you go look at Ferguson, the same thing that was happening in Ferguson when what was the kid's name? Brown?
Yeah, Michael Brown.
Michael Brown was killed, are the same circumstances that are existing right here in Baltimore, Ferguson, Maryland.
Reports of the community being on lockdown.
Unbelievable.
Being heavily policed.
City council, that whole thing about the city councilman that wants to drop the speed limit to 20 miles an hour. Why, hell, you may as well go get on the MTA if you got to drive that slow trying to get that way. But you know,
the buses will drive faster.
Please, just remember this. The reason I fix those drinking water system in our schools, but we can find $2.5 million to stable 6 horses for the police department. Y'all think about that. $200,000 to put drinking filtered waters systems in our schools. $200,000, but they found $2.6 million to put 6 horses up in a stable. God, we're in trouble. We got to vote. We got to vote these people out. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. My heart is a little heavy because I grow weary, and we all do. But I will not grow weary in this fight. And we got to come together, you all. We got to stand together. The convicted, the unconvicted. If you live here, you got children. The police, we're being inundated from every side. People just seem like to not want us to survive and to thrive in this city. But we are the people and we hold the power. But the power is in the tip of our fingers when we go and push that button to get rid of these people who don't mean us well. Stop falling for the bait and switch. Remember, they are who they are, and over time they will show you, as Governor Hogan has shown us, he's not quite who he says he is. Welcome, Jason. Say goodbye.
Thank you, Sister Darlene, for coming in.
Yes,
and folks,
Darlene
don't tune
came.
out on the social media feed. I got some things to share with you real
Yes,
quick.
we do. All right, God bless. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday at 3:30 on Spirit 1400, and we'll see you again here on Monday at 11:30 on WLB 1010 Baltimore. God bless. Have a great week.
1010 WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore. Talking the day, soul at night on the new 1010 WOLB.
Are you close to losing your home to foreclosure? Do you not even open up the mail anymore because of constant threats to garnish your wages or take away your home? Don't get more and more frustrated with the system. Use it to your advantage. Often you can find bankruptcy protection and keep your home and other assets. And now the Foreclosure Assistance Center is here to help you and do it for less. They are offering a low fixed rate of just $500 to file for bankruptcy. So call them today.
Family, thank you for staying on with us for a little bit. Patrick stepped out for a second. He's going to be right back in a minute. But I wanted to talk about that. I definitely wanted to talk about this development, this Milton to Hilton development that the brother was talking about on the radio. So there's a few of these projects that have been popping up throughout the city. There's one on Green Mountain Avenue, if you folks know, right on Green Mountain North. As soon as you make the turn on Green Mountain North, there are some new apartment complexes that have sprouted up in that area. Same thing over if you come off of Hilton, coming off of Hilton Avenue, you make that turn on North Avenue, right past I believe it's the Kennedy's Fried Chicken right there. There is some new development that has taken place right there on North Avenue. I'm going to explain it to Pat a little bit. So what I was talking about, Pat, was if there's a few of those developments that have come up in the community. There's one on Greenmount North Avenue. If you go up Greenmount, coming off of North Avenue, there's some of these new apartments that are just sprouted up in the area. I've actually looked at trying to rent one. We actually applied for an application. They run about $800 to $900 a month.
For one bedroom?
It's a one bedroom. Nice units, brand new units. But these units were paid for. All these were paid for through
the grant.
Right, through grant
Federal.
money. Right, federal money, and state money and city money. What's disturbing to me about this project is how the communities are being redeveloped. So if Hogan wants to take credit for this, I would suggest that we go up there to that community and take some pictures so we can really show the community if he wants to take credit for this mess. On one side of the street, you still have dilapidated properties, and they just tore down another section to build another set of those apartment buildings. They're about maybe 5 stories high at the most. The problem is that the community hasn't been uplifted in any way. And what I mean is you still have a drug-infested community that has no supermarkets, so you're building this development in food deserts. There's heavy activity going right there on that Milton and North Avenue strip as far as drug activity is concerned and crime is concerned. It's not an enticing community. If you're going to take claim for that type of development, then that's really shabby work that you kind of put forward. And in some cases, to me, you were just trying to put something up to show that you did something, but it was no real...
He didn't do it. It was there before he came into office.
Right,
no.
But there was no real organizing of it. There was no real planning or strategic planning in it, again, because at one point you had the one set of apartments that were just built, but there were no, again, supermarkets, no other stores in that strip.
No community.
Right, no community. And you still have that whole area. If you go around on Garrison, you know how Garrison is as soon as you turn around
Garrison
the corner.
is completely cleaned up, except for that little old 7-Eleven. Because when you go up Garrison now, I don't know how many of y'all have driven down there. I lived over there for 20 years. Right. And man, people are buying those houses.
Right. Well, you're talking about the upper part of Garrison. I'm talking about on the lower part.
But
I'm
the
talking
junction?
about, yeah, I'm talking about the junction.
The junction area.
The junction. So I
But isn't that a store? There are stores inside the junction. There's a Save-A-Lot in there, isn't
I believe there is a Save-A-Lot there. There's a Save-A-Lot.
So what do you mean they don't have food? They don't have restaurants?
But have you been in Save-A-Lot?
I don't care. Still, food is clean and don't stink in there. So I go in there and shop because they have some. You
go in that Save-A-Lot?
Sometimes I do, man. If I see they got fork rolls, they got them center
cut fork rolls. My wife would tell you, we bought a head of lettuce out of Save-A-Lot. And the lettuce was rotted in the inside.
I found that at Aldi's. So I found that at Sam's. We buy grapes and get home and they all rotten under the bottom. So I think that they send all of they buy that stuff cheaply because it's at the end of its date of its shelf life, and they put it in our community. But when I find it, I'll let that fish stink in my refrigerator to go back to Sam's and tell them I want my money back. See, we won't stand for it. And when I go to Aldi's and say they sold me something rotten, they are so apologetic and they make sure they straighten up.
All these is pretty good.
And no, but if we don't say anything about, but there is a Save-A-Lot there. But I got to ask you this question about those apartments. The people that are living in them have a better place to live. And so for that alone, but I just don't think that Hogan should take the credit for this because I remember when those apartments were going on. I'm going to tell y'all exactly where it is. It used to be a Checkers right there. Checkers, remember?
Well, it's down the street. The Checkers is down the street.
Right. But if everybody remember that Checkers, so that was a wonderful thing over in the black community. They have that Checkers, so Central, because we all love the hot dogs. But anyway, we ain't gonna talk.
And I remember that was Van Hawkins from
Florida. What's his name?
Florida.
Yeah, they came in and did it.
Yeah,
and they built that there and stuff. And now I don't know what it is. It's changed names several times. But see, the thing of it is that we must understand who's building that apartment, that building across the street from Mondawmin. What is that going to be? Have you heard anything about what that is? I'd like to know what that's going to. It's a beautiful building.
I'm just so my concern is that there doesn't seem to be any real urban development, or real urban planning.
Would you think that the city council people should be on that? And who is a city council person and what are they doing? I remember it was Nick Mosby before, and he took all the credit for making that happen, and I respected him because something did happen. But for the whole surrounding, there's some beautiful houses, beautiful communities with just a little care and stuff. But the young people who don't have anything to do, who have no direction and stuff, they're standing on the corners because they can make money on those corners. We don't have to.
But I still see all that. That's what I'm saying. Like for me, redevelopment should look like what's going on in a lot of cases, like when they do EDBI, the East Side Project with John Hopkins. The whole neighborhood transforms. New businesses, new establishments, new things get put in place. What we get as far as development in our community is the sporadic development in little pieces here and there.
Yeah, we do, but you must
like
remember.
It's an offering.
You must remember that John Hopkins is one of the richest universities.
They use FBI.
Exactly, because they
Right.
got the power to go in there and say, do this and do that.
Right.
They're next only to Harvard,
Right.
I believe, as far as endowments
But
go.
who speaks for us when you have that type of planning in that community? And then again,
I agree.
I
Our
still
city
see the
council
disparity
people.
in that community because I told you I ride Uber Eats and we ride there through nighttime. We see the sexual trafficking still going on very heavily. Anytime I get out of the vehicle to go to one of these restaurants to pick up food, you hear the drug activity. I get solicited, all kinds of drugs in the process. So these neighborhoods they haven't transformed. You just put a fancy house in a neighborhood that's distressed, in a neighborhood that still has conditions, crime, and all of these other issues that need to be addressed. So you didn't come with a holistic approach and a wraparound approach. You just put a building that was government subsidized into a community. You know what I mean? And you benefited somebody because the contractor was the one that really benefited from it, because the contractor, the developer, and the property manager is benefiting from it. Why? Because they didn't have to put in all of their money to make that project happen.
Exactly, but
federal dollars
eventually and ultimately,
Right.
the people benefit because they've got a decent place to live.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying with that,
but is it really a decent place to live when you still have drug activity going on outside? Right. When you have drug activity outside, when you still can't go out into the neighborhood and enjoy the amenities of the neighborhood, when you have to settle for a second-rate supermarket like Save-A-Lot. Because again, to me, that's second rate. When you see development go on in other affluent communities or communities that are up and coming that were distressed, you see Whole Foods opening up, you see Starbucks opening
Who
up.
can afford Whole Foods in our community?
But I would,
Jason.
but
I don't even
right.
shop there. That
Right.
guy is a Republican who owns it.
Right.
I used to go there all the time. I stopped
Well,
going.
Amazon owns it now. Amazon bought it
Yeah,
out.
finally, Amazon and Amazon need to do something too.
Amazon bought it out.
Amazon bought Whole Foods.
Yeah, and that makes them the number one grocer in the country.
Yes,
collectively.
And he just gave $20 billion to help do schools and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just think the brother man should just actually just pay his employees a living wage,
Right.
that he wouldn't have to do things like
Right.
that.
I have a problem with that type of development because again, that type of development just to me is just.
Hey, Reverend Conley, I'm on the radio right now. I'll call you shortly. All right, bye.
That kind of development to me, I apologize. I just really feel that it doesn't have a strong urban planning involved in it, and you still have all the conditions that surround these particular properties. You know what I mean? And I just go over there. I mean, we've looked at several of these units to look at, thinking about getting an apartment at one of them. And because we ride Uber Eats at nighttime and we're talking about wee hours of the morning, we see activity that we would not want to live in.
I know, but the people are sleeping. They can't see it, but it goes on because they get away when the sunlight comes, like vampires.
Yeah.
They run away. Hey.
Yeah. I just think that better urban planning could have been
I think so
put
too,
into
but
place.
you know what? We got to do the best we can with what we got to work with, Jason.
Yeah.
And the one thing, I look at those places as stepping stones for people. They can get in there, have a roof over their head, and can
But see, in some ways, that's what I'm telling you. It's more like, you know what I mean?
Pacifying.
Right, pacifying. Right, you're trying to appease me. You're trying to make it look like I've done something for our community in the process.
Well, that's what I said. It's the bait and switch.
Yeah.
It's exactly that gentleman that was so avidly protected. What do you realize that once Hogan got in office, all those things, do y'all know that the police can now still take your car and not convict you of a crime and sell your car or charge you so much money to get it back that you can't afford it? It happened to Wayno 3 or 4 times. They took his car, parked on them somewhere or something, and wouldn't start, and they took the car. Well, the legislature had said that, no, you can't do that anymore. And one of the first things Hogan did when he came in office was to kill that bill. He vetoed it. So all of you people talking about Hogan has your best interest, he does not. And we just face it. I can't hold it against the guy, but I cannot vote for him.
And then I had a problem with.
You have to give us the information that you know, and I appreciate him sharing it with us. Because I mean, when I was in Annapolis, I was happy I was in Annapolis, I was happy that he signed out gun bills for domestic violence abusers to turn in their guns, so that we could try to decrease
the violence.
Not only just the violence, but people being killed or suicide. That's what we had, that's what we did. So, I was appreciative. He signed the bills for us and handed us the pen and all that. But like you said, you still have to research and read up. Don't let that one incident
make you think he didn't
take you over.
Right.
So I'm learning. I'm learning. And another thing that I have learned too is I'm taking notes from other groups and other organizations. And when I say that, you'll catch on, is that a lot of people have meetings at their homes. A lot of people get together where they have, it's like campaign private meetings in their home. I was invited to one yesterday, but I had my grandson, so I couldn't make it. And they all come together and decide who they want to vote for. We think when we go to these community meetings, this, that, and other, we doing something. But no, these people let you walk out their house until they all agree on this is who we voting for, this is who we going to be doing this lobbying for.
Which communities is this? Oh, well.
Not our community.
Right.
Oh,
and that's what I was telling Charles.
I learned that. But
that's what I was telling Charles.
I'm learning has helped me too. Just like when I the gun violence mothers and fathers and you, and she always called me when she gets interviews for the radio, the newspaper, and because she said she feels she don't have a support because she don't know mothers and people who lost their children on dirt bikes, just like people in car accidents. So how are we supposed to tell you, oh, I really can't support you because it didn't happen to my son that way or my daughter that way? Just, like mine is so much more horrific than yours. Every death matters.
Yeah, it does. But the thing of it is, and I got to ask you, opposing audience, do we as a community value our children? As a community, as a lot of people, do we value our children? Do we actually think they are more precious than gold? Because that's the way white folks treat theirs.
Or the Jewish community.
Or the and I hear people talk about them kids is bad. They say it all the time. Look at them. Never asking how those children got on them corners. When we've taught them that the only way to resolve a problem is through violence. So what do? They go and repeat what we have taught them. Do we value our children? Are they precious to us? Do we realize that they are our present and our future? I don't think we
do. Even in the Korean community, I worked for a Korean man, Mr. Jae Kon Yu, for many years. And he used to tell me all the time, Mr. Jason, he said, I don't live for myself. I live for my children.
Yes, man.
He said, everything that I do in my business and the money and the time that I put in and take out of the business goes to uplifting my children. And they understand that importance of uplifting each generation and making each generation stronger. Eventually, they're going to be elders. They're going to be old.
Yes.
And they're considered to be the head of the family, the head of the table. But they still worship their children and put their children in a position of leadership
because they know
and invest in them.
Absolutely, because the children are eventually going to not only have to take care of them, but sustain and take care of themselves, and they want their children to prosper, as we should want our children to prosper, because the better our children live, the better we live. That's the reason one educated child in a family changes that whole family forever. Just one. All it takes is one.
He used to tell me all the time, he said, Mr. Jason, I have one shirt, I have one pants, I have one underwear, one socks. And I used to say, at the time, I'm thinking superficial. I'm a superficial person because I'm into materialistic things. Right. So to me, I'm sitting there saying, well, you just a dirty mother, mother effer to me, and that's all you got. But then he explained it to me why. He said, because everything that I do, I sacrifice for my children. He said, and that's why I only have one shoes. That's why I only have one socks. He said, I don't need anything else because I'm investing in my children.
So how did we get to the point of my mother and my father had 7 kids. When folks used to see them, they would go, y'all must be rich. Look how y'all got them children dressed.
Yeah, they sell the
And my mother, she said, oh, baby, thank you. Every Saturday morning, she grabbed me and we'd hit the Goodwills, the Salvation Army, because she said she didn't think there was anything worse than seeing the parents dressed to the nines and their children looking like they were stepchildren. She said she couldn't rationalize that in her mind, that her children had to look as good as she did. Do we feel as though our children should be as good, they should be as loved as much as we love ourselves? Or how did we miss that link to realize all we want to do is buy $200 sneakers and they're 10 years old and they're going to be outgrow them in 6 months to put on the facade? But are we investing in them? Are we letting them know that they're loved? Do we correct them too much instead of celebrating them? Do we listen to them? I keep saying it. That is my thing. We don't listen.
That's what I told somebody last week. I said, you have 2 children, but you need to let the oldest child, you need to praise her. You need to talk to her. Take her out by herself sometimes, besides just with the little sibling, because they think we spend so much time on the other sibling.
And the younger they are, the more time we spend with them, right?
And I'm number 9 out of 11.
Wow.
So I know about a lot of things. And my mother, she sewed and she made clothes and she taught us how to hand sew everything. And so I learned a great appreciation, because if my father was to live this year, next week, my father would be, I think, 102.
Wow.
So a lot of people tell me I act different. I said, I have old oaks. You know, my mother died at 84. So, you know, all that stuff is so instilled into me.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, like my father, I appreciate when we was dating and going to get married, he had to talk to the person that's going to marry you. And he would say out loud, you know, to them, like, you know, what are your plans for my daughter? And I used to go, oh my God, there daddy go. I can't believe he doing it. And then
she glad he did, ain't she?
Yes, and you know what he did with us too? We had to sit in the living room with him, beside him, and have talks. And he would talk face to face to us when we were coming up, to tell us how much we were worth. He always told us how much we was worth, and he always told us to work for what we wanted. And he said, even if you bought sugar and you bought $1 from somebody, he said that was because you wanted to support your family and you had to put your pride to the side. 11 children, I had to learn a whole lot of things. So, you know, I just thank God for those roots that's instilled into me, and that I pass it on to my grandkids, because I'm an honorary speaker. And what people don't know is, when I get paid from all my different speaking engagements, I always tell my grandkids, this is for us. And when I come back from traveling them different states, they check on me, ask me how I'm doing, and I check and see how they doing. And I would say, listen, Grandma's coming to see y'all in a day or 2, because I'm going to take you guys shopping. We're going to do some things together.
Yes. Yeah. And that you are a voice, and that you are in demand. This travel ain't cheap. You have to get there and stuff, and people must realize that not only it's such a sad reason why you have to do it,
and
but
I had
that
to
your
get
courage.
A cash app. I had to get a cash app, because people come say, why don't you do GoFundMe? And I said, well, I don't want to do GoFundMe. So when somebody told me about the cash app, I went and got that for people who personally just want to give me a donation, and that's fine. But I thank God that my trips are sponsored, my airfare, my hotel, and my meals are included. But who wants to go to California with no money in their pocket?
Well, but you got to listen. The point well taken. No, because of the message, we must support you. That's why you are here on my show today.
Thank you so
much. It's because I can only imagine what it must be like for you, and that you're so courageous, and that you are going, that you are telling people, because the Bible says they overcame by their testimonies. You're not the only one that has to face this. So by coming and talking to people, not only do you encourage them, but you light a candle in somebody else's life to realize why this is so important, and why we must come against these police who are killing our children and our own people who are killing our children. But I read an article yesterday that said in the Washington Post, that said, y'all scared of black people. White folks, y'all need to be scared of other white folks. They the one killing y'all asses. Okay, so don't get me started there. I'm not going off on there, but I just want y'all to, you know. But but so I bless you and thank you so much for coming on. Like I said earlier, you always welcome. Anytime something going on, you're gonna be somewhere. You call me, and you can call in and know that we support you, because we don't say nothing. Then who was it that said they'll feel like it's all right, and they ain't hurting us. It was what was her name? That wrote the black books. What is her name, from Florida? She said, if you don't say nothing, they gonna feel like it ain't hurting you. Zora Neale Hurston. Okay. She said, if you don't say nothing, you don't do nothing, they gonna say, oh well, they ain't feeling it yet. Let's keep it going. And that's what we got to understand. If you don't say nothing, then they're gonna feel like it's all right. They're gonna keep on doing it. You got to speak. Not only speak out, you got to march on them like they do it up there in Washington today. And one other thing, y'all probably got it now. Rosenstein was on his way to the White House when I left home. Supposedly, the White House said they were going to ask for his resignation, but he's saying they're gonna have to fire him. So that's the last I heard of it. So I can't wait to get in the car to see what's going on.
I can't wait to get to DC.
I to mess in DC. All right, you all. Bless you all. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you for getting somebody. Go tell somebody, baby, we're going to the polls. We are voting in November. Right. We need to get Dallas in there because we need a fresh start. No more Republicans in sheep's clothing. No more Democrats in sheep's clothing. We need the head right. Once we get the head right, I believe the body politic will fall in place. God bless you all. Thank you for listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. God bless.